What's going on, guys? Today we have another bonus content interview with one of my good friends and mentors, Nick Mullen. Nick is the founder and CEO of Strategic Influence, a Facebook ads agency. Welcome to the show, Nick.
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. So we'll get right into it. These interviews are pretty rapid fire questions, just really value-based for our audience, full of knowledge experts who are building their own high-ticket programs. So first question I had for you is why Facebook ads as opposed to YouTube, Instagram, SEO, and some of these other strategies available?
Yeah, so that's like one of the most commonly asked questions of the universe right now. And the first thing I would say is there's no real reason to exclude certain platforms, especially in certain situations. Like, for example, SEO. You should definitely invest your time and energy into SEO if you can, because there's no real reason not to. And then to kind of go over the different platforms in terms of paid, it really depends on what you're trying to do. All platforms can be very profitable. The one thing that about Facebook, though, that some people don't understand is that they think that Facebook is not intent-based, meaning like you're going out and creating desire in someone or something like that, where Google AdWords, for example, is someone types in, I broke my arm, I need a doctor, right? So it's very intent-based, or, I want to buy a nice chair for my office space, and then they're higher conversion rate because of that intent. What they don't understand is based on cookies that Facebook uses, Facebook actually takes note of who is taking those actions on Google and other websites. And that is how people are in real time inserted into Facebook's audiences. So it's still intent-based. So if I go and I search for ergonomic office chairs on Google, Facebook has that data and inserts it into those audiences that are relevant. And now it still is intent-based. That's how that works. So Facebook is really, to be honest, like the hub of everything, because it doesn't take someone to actually be intent-based. You can still create desire in the marketplace, but it still is intent-based. And then you can definitely test around with YouTube ads, but the only setback with YouTube ads is you kind of have to be good on video, and not everyone is good on video. But if you are good on video, then I still recommend you do try it out. There's no reason not to.
100%. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And along those same lines, do you think that Facebook ads really work for high ticket programs, even if they don't have an existing audience at the time?
Yeah. So the cool thing about high ticket offers is that you, as the advertiser, you have more leverage, so to speak. So you have the ability to spend more to acquire a customer, right? And like, let's say you're bidding in the same audience as someone who is selling a $100 offer, right? You have the ability to spend more to acquire a customer when you're selling a program that's $2,000 or $3,000, right? Because what does Facebook care about? Facebook wants to give the advantage to people that are willing to spend more to acquire those customers, because that's how they make their money. It's a platform that's the revenue is generated by ads. So that's the first thing. And then to answer the second part of that, with the actual not having an audience yet, the thing that people actually care about, this is one of the biggest things I've learned about so far in business. People care about the results that you can drive for them. They don't care about anything else other than the results you can drive for them. And so even if it is an advantage to have a higher quantity of people in your audience, that doesn't mean it's make or break, especially if you're convicted and confident in the results that you have. And especially if you have testimonials and people that can vouch for you, that you've worked in the past with, even if you don't have an audience online. Remember, the thing that people care about most is that you are confident and convicted on the result that you can bring them. So you can have 100 people that follow you on Instagram, 200 people that like your Facebook page, etc. It doesn't matter, right? Because like I said, if you have proof that, hey, this is the result I'm going to get you, Click on the link if you want the result. If you're convicted on that, that's all that matters.
Got it.
And then also, you can use Facebook ads to build an audience, which I do recommend people do, especially if they have a weaker audience, meaning you can leverage content to put in front of people with engagement campaigns, video view campaigns, educational style videos where maybe you get a whiteboard out and you go over the how-tos of your topic. Let's say you want to teach people how to invest, long-term investing or whatever, or flipping house, whatever it is. You can take out a handy dandy whiteboard or a sheet of paper, get out a camera and go over all the ways to get started for beginners, the 101s, and then the more in depth. Okay, all these types of things. Leverage those videos, post them on your page, and then leverage them to run as ads. And then you can actually put that video content in front of your ideal future customers. And what's going to happen is residually, you're going to have a bunch of people that are following you as a result, right? When I see ads on social and I don't know who the person is yet, very often I click on their profile picture and I go follow them if they have valuable content. So you can actually do that first before you go and pitch them on your offer, which works really well.
Got it. Yeah, no, super helpful stuff. So you kind of touched on it already. My next question is, what goes into creating the most effective ad campaigns on Facebook? And I know the result that you could get for someone and making that the forefront of your ad is definitely a core piece of that. But what would you say some other things might be? Because you've worked with a lot of people that sell high ticket programs using Facebook ads.
I would definitely say applied psychology. It's not just, anyone can YouTube how to run ads and then they try it and then they're like, wow, I just wasted $2,000. If you apply psychology into your ads just by using logic, like what does this type of person want? What would make this person actually want to buy my stuff, buy my offer, right? And then there's a book I'm reading right now called Evolutionary Psychology by Dr. David Buss, I think his name is. It's a great book. Literally brings you through like evolution and how people actually think, why people are drawn so heavily to people of authority and all these things, lust, sex in different industries, stuff like that. So learn how to apply psychology into your image ads, your video ads. And I'm not going to go into like how to actually do it right now because it would be here for hours. But if you learn a little bit about psychology, that will be killer for your ad campaigns. Another thing is just good copywriting. Bad copywriting is going to kill your campaigns. Even just if you have good, not even great copywriting, but there's a lot of people that are just like, the copywriting is just overlooked in terms of how important it is. So just like, I would say practicing copywriting if you're going to run your own ads, because even if it doesn't flow correctly, people's attention spans are so short that if you lost, you're going to lose them quick if it doesn't really hold them. And then the third thing is this thing called the Facebook Power 5. It's this, if anyone watching this wants to look it up, you can just type in Facebook Power 5. It'll probably pop up. If you implement these, it's dynamic creative, which is in the actual ad creative section when you're in the campaign creation process. Audience matching, all right? Account simplification, meaning like not having a ton of different things going on in your actual account. Facebook likes simplified accounts that are neat and kind of clean, so to speak. Actually have it pulled up here. Automatic placements. So if you guys, anyone watching knows what placements are on Facebook, it's where you're actually going to show your ads, like in the news feed on Facebook, Instagram stories, Messenger, these types of things. If you leave it on automatic placements, it's going to do what's best for your campaign. A lot of people overlook that and they think that Facebook's just trying to screw you over and make money off you, when really it's important for them to make money for their advertisers as well. And then I said auto advanced matching. And then the fifth one's campaign budget optimization. So right now, Facebook is literally saying, if you do those 5 things, then you have a high probability of having a successful campaign, because it's basically just the AI just doing the work for you at that point. That's called the Power 5. So anyone can just Google it.
Awesome. Yeah. So once somebody has their offer nailed down, the copy's up to speed and their content's good, what do you suggest that they do to really dig deep and find their target audience? Is it still more the psychology aspect, or is it just kind of seeing, who could my offer help the most and who would actually be interested in learning more?
Yeah, in terms of the actual audiences that you're picking out, who you're showing the ads to. Yeah. The biggest thing I would say is just be logical. I know that's like not the answer that people want to hear, but it's really like be logical, and test different audiences. One thing that is more of an increasing factor in this is you don't want to create audiences that are too small, because your CPM is going to increase by a substantial amount. And Facebook likes to have a larger audience, like over 1 million people. And if you look at the potential reach, you want to have at least 1 million people if you can. Because like I said, just like the Power 5 example, Facebook's going to do the work for you and you'll get better results if you do that. If you do, one thing I have written down, if you have a narrow audience, and like, that the audience that you're choosing is going to include a lot more people that aren't in that audience, the switch you want to make is in your messaging. Okay. So if you have a larger audience that you like, let's say there's a total of like 50,000 people that are your ideal future customers, and you have an audience of 1 million people, you have to do a great job of singling them out and making it very clear that this is what this ad is, this is who this ad's for, and this is who it's not. So that goes back to copywriting, what you're going to put in the video if you do a video. And so that's what I would say. But don't narrow your audiences too big or too small. It's going to probably hurt your campaign.
Got it. And is there like a sweet spot in terms of a number to shoot for?
Like I said, over 1 million is ideal. You're going to hear different numbers from different people. It really depends. I would say 1 million to 5 million is a good sweet spot, if I were to say so. But yeah, it depends. Like if you're in the fitness industry, there's going to be a lot more people in certain audiences. That's the nature of different industries versus, business owners. If you're looking for actual business owners, you're going to have a smaller audience of people that are actually business owners. So it depends, but that's what I would say. 1 to 5 mil.
Got it. Yeah, super helpful, super helpful. So you talk a lot about copywriting, and you already shared some insights onto like the psychology behind it, but what are some like effective tips when writing copy specifically for ads? Like how long should it be? Is there like a framework that you go by?
Well, the first thing I'll say is read copywriting books. This is a good one I'm reading right now. It's called Making Ads Pay, because the reality of the situation is there's so many like tactics with ad copy, where like we would literally be here for hours talking about these different tactics. Like, so for example, depending on your industry, there's formats that will work better than others, right? And so for some audiences, you want to keep it short because more audiences are going to be more receptive to that. And also understanding the awareness stages of your audience, right? People that don't know you yet, you might want to use longer ad copy that brings them through more of a story, so to speak, where if you're retargeting a very hot audience, you might just have a shorter piece of copy if it's a testimonial video, for example, right? Because you want to let the video do the talking. The biggest thing I would say is read books on copywriting and practice. Copywriting is a practice game because some people, like for me, I have always been a good writer, not necessarily a great copywriter, but like I've always had a good writing, like a skill of writing. So it just came easier to me. If you want to write good copy, practice and read books. I have another good one here called The Ultimate Sales Letter. There's another one that's like, I think it's like $400. It's called, oh, what's the name of it? I lost the name of it. It's, the hell's the name of it? I lost it. Crap. Just read copywriting books.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm trying to think of the name. Yeah.
Like a most expensive copywriting book.
Yeah. It's like $400, but so that's the biggest thing I would say. If you are, one thing I like to do in my copy is gamify it a little bit, so to speak. So you want to, like an example would be, don't apply if you're not an action taker. Don't apply if you're not blank. Don't apply. Sorry, Siri keeps popping up. Don't apply if you're blank, right? We want winners only, or we want these types of people only. Why? Because psychologically, this goes back to applied psychology. This creates this internal like desire for people to actually fit the narrative that you're looking for, if that makes sense. And so that's a good tactic I would say is good.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that because I've, some other, I don't know, psychological ways to get people to buy into what you're selling is just kind of asking them like, the only question remains is, do you have what it takes or something like that? Like you're trying to sell the other person on what you do rather than, or vice versa. You want them to sell themselves to you versus you trying to sell them kind of thing.
Exactly. And it's a pre-framing thing, you want to frame them in a way where they are, like you said, qualifying themselves instead of you like just using curiosity and then trying to like squeeze out as many conversions as possible. One thing I will also say is be careful when you're using curiosity, because curiosity breeds a lot of people who are not good fits for your program, right? So you can use curiosity once you've already identified and called out who should be a part of your program. That's a good time to then use curiosity. But curiosity from the beginning, like let's say you're targeting a cold audience that doesn't know who you are yet. Curiosity in that instance is probably not a good idea. Tire kickers, people that aren't good fit, right? Because when I'm curious about something, I'm like, oh, I'm curious, right? So you got to be careful with curiosity too.
100%. So getting more into the weeds kind of thing, what would you think works best for the creative side of a Facebook ad? Like videos or stills? What do you think has proven more effective in what you've done?
I mean, you should test both. That's like the straight up answer, but statistically right now, still images are working better. That's just like in this period of time we're in, just based on data. But remember, it depends on your industry, depends on your audience, right? If you for example, if you're targeting an audience that needs to be pre-framed very heavily, then some videos might work better than images, because in that video, you have the ability to then, it literally inject authority bias into their brain before they even get to your landing page. So again, that really depends. If you are not good on video, don't do video.
Yeah.
Practice
a lot of mistakes people make on video.
Yeah. Practice video on your page, like organic posts. If you want to get great at video, which you should. I mean, you should be able to use video, but don't even try to do video ads where you're actually like speaking to your audience like this, right? It's just not a good play, especially in the beginning. Practice first, get comfortable before you actually want to put money behind it, because your conviction when you're speaking is everything when you're trying to convince someone to spend $3,000 with you.
Facts. Yeah, and like you said, you could kind of just practice your video skills like in an organic setting rather than putting Facebook ad budget behind it. And That leads into my next question of like, I know we've talked about in the past, you have like a very unique framework that you tell your clients to use when creating video, and I'm sure it applies to just videos in general in this space. So if you could just kind of give a high level overview of some of the aspects that make up an effective video ad.
Yeah. So if you're selling a course or a coaching program, the direct response video ad framework that I think you're speaking on is what's called the PSO framework. And so it just stands for problem, solution, opportunity. This will actually work whether you're just doing an actual paid ad video or just a video sales letter on a landing page where you're actually pitching them on filling out your application or whatever. And literally, like I said, problem, solution, opportunity. So the first thing you want to do, well, let me backtrack. The first thing you always want to do is get their attention. Okay. So sometimes that in the process of getting their attention, that's where you identify the problem. But sometimes it can be like this, right? The first thing that you did subconsciously when I put this book in the screen is your eyes went right to the book. Why? Because it's green, and also it's a prop, right? So the first thing, use props, use cool locations. You can use music or weird sounds that will trigger someone to be like, whoa, what was that? So first thing, get their attention, and then roll through problem, solution, opportunity. So problem meaning literally identify the problem. Are you blank? Right? Are you someone who is blank, wants to blank? Are you someone that wants to start an online course? Are you someone who wants to learn how to invest? Are you blank, right? You identify the problem, right? Have you struggled to take 10% of your income and invest it for your future? Is that something that you've been struggling with? Does it, right? You just identify the problem. There's many different ways to do that. You can use different hooks. The solution, which is the part number 2, is where you identify what the actual solution is for that problem, right? And so, for example, if we're using the investing example where you want to teach them how to actually create income long-term with investments, you would basically tell them it's not this, it's not what you think it is, right? What you actually need to do is this, right? So you would say literally what you need to do is you need to systematize it in your everyday process. So you're giving them an idea of like, oh, this is the potential solution area that I need to start walking towards, right? And then step number 3 is your call to action, AKA your opportunity, which is your course, or the opportunity to fill out an application to talk to you about your course. So problem, solution, opportunity.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that was super valuable for anyone listening. I hope you guys take action on that, but we're just going to keep going with a few more questions to, have Nick provide some more value. So what are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen course creators make when they're running ads?
The first thing is they make it super complicated. Complicated not meaning like the complexity of your strategy, but complicated meaning like, number 1, the funnel that you're using on the back end of it is super important. And it's super important to keep it simple, or else you're going to put a ton of work into this funnel that you're going to actually run ads to that's not going to convert. Okay, so that's the biggest thing is they don't keep it simple. Another thing is they don't leverage content in their ad strategy. I touched on that when we first started, I think. One of my favorite ad strategies is called the reverse fly trap. And what it is you drive cold traffic to your funnel, where you're going to actually pitch them on your course, right? With direct response ads. So they see a video or images of you and they click the link to go to your funnel where you have a video and a sales page pitching them on your offer, right? Then while you're running your retargeting campaigns to your warm and hot audiences, like your recent funnel visitors, okay, and your recent ad engagers, people that have recently actually engaged with those ads that you're running, you can leverage video content and literally target the same exact audience that you're targeting your regular retargeting direct response ads with. Meaning while you are retargeting people with direct response ads, saying, hey, I saw that you were at you landed on the funnel, you saw the video, you saw the offer, but you still haven't taken me up on my offer yet. That's a regular retargeting ad that with a link takes them back to the actual funnel. Simultaneously, you can leverage content, educational content like I talked about before, where you're handling their objections. There's no call to action on the video, nothing. You post it on your Facebook page first, and then it's like a boosted post, which is what most people will understand. Okay, so what you're doing here is simultaneously, while you're showing them direct response retargeting ads, you're also showing them just regular video content without a call to action, because it gets past the part of the brain that puts up the walls when you get pitched. Okay, so you'll actually get them to watch these videos. You'll have a higher probability of getting them to watch the videos. And if you have them strategically created to handle their objections, the whole system will work better, right? So it accelerates the trust building process, if that makes sense. I know that was kind of a lot, and I know that kind of was counterintuitive to the don't make it complicated thing, but it's not complicated at all. Leverage content in your ad strategy. You can YouTube it. You can, it's all over the internet how to actually do it. That goes back to the applied psychology. Leverage content that handles people's objections and gives a lot of value, and it'll be great.
I love it. Yeah, I like to call it like a controlled sales pages, where like you control, the objections and everything before you even have to speak with them on the phone. So it's a great strategy. My next question, Nick, is what are some of the basic benchmarks you look for when you're running ads? Because I know a lot of the time, and this happens with everyone, no matter how much experience you have, like you start a campaign thinking it's going to crush it, and then all of a sudden it's like it didn't go as planned. So what are some benchmarks you look at in order to either keep a campaign running or even add more ad spend behind it?
Yeah, so in the beginning, it can be more difficult when you're first starting to become profitable, because you don't necessarily have data on what's your closing rate, what's the conversion rate of your application, what's the conversion rate, like what's the click-through rate of your actual ads, etc. So, long story short, the ultimate question is it profitable? Okay. So we can talk about what's our click-through rate, what's the cost per click, what's this and that. The main question you want to ask is the campaign profitable? If it's profitable, there's no reason to turn it off. Now, it doesn't mean you can't make it better. Okay, so for example, if there's different steps in the process from ad to close, like click-through rate, and then the opt-in rate if you have them opting into a video sales letter, for example, and then the actual application conversion rate, etc. There's always a point, right? If you have 5 different touch points or conversion points, one of them is always going to be lower than the others. It's like a bottleneck, right? So you want to expand the bottleneck and allow everything to flow through better, right? So if your opt-in rate to the actual video sales letter is way lower than it should be, then you by improving that, everything from that point on to the sale is going to be at a higher quantity. Okay, so it's not necessarily about what's my click-through rate, what's my cost per click, right? How many people are engaging with my ad? And that's not really what it is, right? Because it will also depend on the industry. If you're selling to people that are wealthy and you have an audience that is, people that, like, for example, people that are in the top 10% of zip codes in terms of household income, that's something you can currently target. That's going to be a more expensive audience to target, and your cost per click is going to be higher, right? But your ability to actually close them at a higher ticket price point is higher on the back end. So that shows how the cost per click is not necessarily the determining factor of how well your campaign's doing, right? It's okay, I'm spending $1, how much am I getting out? That's what matters at the end of the day.
Love it.
Awesome. So everything that we're talking about, it's going as planned. It's what people, signed up for and learn how to do. But there's, certain points where people can get banned by Facebook for running ads that aren't compliant. So what do you have to say to people that get banned? And if it does happen, how can they, rectify it and just improve and get better and figure out how to fix it?
Yeah. So the first thing with the compliance is two of the biggest things that Facebook doesn't like are income claims and time frame claims. Okay. Income claims meaning like even just including the word like millions into your ad is usually is not a good idea, because the algorithm literally searches for keywords, right? And when Facebook sees the word millions, it assumes that you're talking about dollars, right? Or if you talk about revenue or income or anything to do with income claims, Facebook doesn't like it, right? So you want to focus on skills in your copywriting, for example, that your audience can imply or infer that lead to income, if that makes sense. So for example, if you are a great copywriter, if it's a copywriting course, then you want to focus on the skills that they're going to get as a result, because the audience isn't stupid. They understand that that's going to lead to more income. Okay. So income's the biggest thing, and then time frames. So making big time frame claims like you're going to get this, and that in 8 weeks, that's a gray area as well. You want to stay away from that. Also, just go into the back end of Facebook, like Google Facebook advertising policy, and you just read through it and read through it 3, 4, or 5 times to really understand it, because all advertisers have issues with this. And the more you understand it, the more you can mitigate the risk of getting your stuff shut down. If you do get shut down, there's a couple things you can do. There's my mentor, Jeremy Haynes, shared this with me, where it's called the family and friends policy, where like we all have a mom or a family member or people that aren't never going to use Facebook ads. Okay. And they have access to Facebook ads. Okay. And so you can actually go and log in to their personal ad account. Everyone has the access to a personal ad account. Okay. You can go in, create your business manager in your relative's back end instead of yours. If you're shut down, you can go in, you can basically like hijack their ad manager, take over ownership, and then release them of ownership. So you now have a backup. You now have a backup ads manager to run ads from and create ad accounts in. And you can do that even if you didn't do it before you got shut down. So you can still do it after you get shut down. And then the other thing is create backup ad accounts. So never just have one ad account. Create your regular ad account and then do like backups just in case, because then you can actually mitigate that risk. And then your Facebook pixel can be attributed to can be owned by all of your backup ad accounts as well. So you won't lose all that data as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, lots of good information. So we definitely appreciate this. Has been a super impactful interview so far. And just a few more questions. So this next question that I have is like, what do you do? Like, how do you assess a campaign that's not going as planned? Like, what are some of the things you first look at?
Well, there's a lot of things. So number one is probably not what you want to hear as the person watching this video, but the number one thing is probably your funnel. People often blame the campaigns when it's usually not the campaigns, which is what most people don't expect. It's like building a building, a skyscraper, right? everyone knows if the foundation's crap, the building will not withstand anything because the foundation's crap, right? You can send traffic to a landing page where the copywriting's off, the person does not sound convicted in the video that they filmed, right? Not convincing at all, right? The funnel needs to be simple. I'm going to reiterate it again. The funnel needs to be simple. Create a video literally just outlining the offer, why it's important, who it's for, and have an application to get them on the phone. And that's all you need to start. You don't need any long crap where you take months to create a long video sales letter, etc. Make sure the funnel is simple, but you're convicted on the offer and it's very clear. Now, if your funnel is converting well, like you, based on the traffic that you sent to your funnel and the funnel is converting well based on the numbers of people that have actually filled an application, etc., then you simply want to look at, okay, what's my click-through rate? What is my cost per click? Okay, and if you do know, like let's say you're charging $3,000 for your program. If you know your close rate and you know your average application conversion rate and you know your opt-in rate, it's just a numbers game. If your cost per click is too expensive based on the numbers that you know you need, then your cost per click is too high and your click-through rate is too high. So it all depends, right? Just literally do the math, right? Get out a whiteboard, get out a piece of paper. Okay, this is how much it costs. Like it's literally that simple. This is how much it costs, $3,000. I know that I convert, my closing rate is 20%, right? For example, 20%. And then you just backtrack. Okay, what does my application cost need to be? What does my opt-in rate need to be? Or if you don't have an opt-in before the video that you have, then what does my click-through rate need to be? What does my cost per click need to be? It's that simple. Just do the math on that. And that's it. Find a bottleneck in the process.
100%. No doubt.
And then to answer like how you actually fix it, just to be clear, you want to test different things. Like the one thing that people need to understand when they get into this game, when I first started, I didn't understand this. It would be super frustrating. I used to sell like backpacks and stuff on the internet. And I used to do like e-commerce when I first started. The thing you need to understand is it is a testing game. It's a pay to play game. And that shouldn't intimidate you. That should give you relief that, okay, a lot of times shit doesn't work. That should give you relief in understanding that, okay, this is normal, that things won't work, right? So if it doesn't work, literally create a new campaign. Okay. I recommend, like I said before, dynamic ads, where you give Facebook different images or different videos and different ad copy variations so that Facebook can decide what's going to work best. So you can mitigate that risk, right? Especially if you're using a lower dollar amount per day to start, use dynamic ad creative. And Facebook will find the best one. And if the best one still isn't working, then that means you need to go back to the drawing board. And it's fine. Just go in knowing that there's going to be some testing involved.
100%. I think, somebody viewing their ads manager is going to see all kinds of numbers and just be, overwhelmed and not really know what to do with them. But once you can break it down into, 4 or 5 different metrics that you need to hit to have a successful campaign, I think it's really simple. So,
yeah, it's just logic.
Yeah. Last question on
unemotional.
Yeah. What is the biggest success you've had for a client selling a high ticket program or something that they offer thus far?
In terms of ROI or numbers, what do you mean?
Let's do it in terms of a return on the campaign that they ran. Like, what was the most successful campaign that you've seen for a client?
I would say a 10x return on ad spend. If you look at the grand scheme of things, if you put $1 in, you get $10 out. I mean, it's pretty good.
It's not too bad.
Not too bad, right? You can't. One of my mentor, Jeremy, that I mentioned earlier, we were talking a couple of days ago, and this should be a good insight for anyone that wants to run ads. People like me who run ads for people, I'm like the modern day wealth manager. Why? It's because people pay people to People pay people to manage their money and get a 7% year over year return on their investments, when you can do that. Even if you do this yourself, you can flip as long as everything's set properly, 7%, you can flip hundreds of percent in 2 months, So, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's, if you get the foundation right, you can see a great return on investment, especially when you're doing when you have a course, a high ticket course or a high ticket coaching program, because, and this is one thing you need to understand, don't send people to an order form, especially now when Facebook was like so underused. All right, it's cool. Send people to an order form. Some people are going to buy on their own for $3,000. Your conversion rate is going to be way better if you get them on the phone. Get them on the phone, take them through an actual sales process where they can talk to you or talk to someone that you hire. Okay. Get them on the phone so you can actually handle their objections. There's so many variables to creating an order form that's going to actually convert people, especially at that price point. Just have them fill out an application and sell them on the phone or on Zoom. Like
exactly. This. Yeah, we actually show people in that course. I think if you're watching this right now, it's going to be the next module that you go through, is how to sell people over the phone and how to collect payment while they're on the phone. So it's good stuff. And then Nick, my last question is, how can knowledge experts work with you if they want you to run their Facebook ads for their high ticket programs? Because obviously you know a great deal about this stuff and you've had a lot of success.
Hit me up. I mean, the thing is, I offer hands-on ad management and creation and stuff like that. But I also do consulting. And it depends on where you're at foundationally in your business. I always look for, make sure that you actually have some sales first. And the big thing is you need to make sure you got your sales. You need to make sure you got your sales game down, right? So it's a combination here of running ads, and you also want to make sure your sales process is down. So I have a list of like client qualification checkpoints that I make sure my clients meet. Those are a few. Another thing is you want to make sure that you actually have done what it is that you're teaching. That's just like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that for me. You will always do better if you've actually done what it is that you're teaching, right? That will play into whether you want it to or not. That's going to play into your conviction when you're on video like this, right? If you have not done what you are teaching, it's going to come through whether you think it is or not. People can smell that. People can smell it right away. And have some money to play with. If you want to work with someone like me, get some organic sales, do your due diligence, get into the game first, get some sales, get some testimonials, case studies if you don't have any yet. And then if you want to work with someone like myself, then just reach out. And then we start it's very powerful if you have the foundation in place. So if you follow what these guys are going to tell you to do everything first. And then once you're ready, you follow me on Instagram at the Nick Mullen. You can hit me up. We'll chat about it. But
awesome, man. Yeah, no, it's really good stuff. And I'll be sure to put all of your contact information below, because I know you even put out some free content on Instagram and whatnot. So there's going to be a lot of good things for these guys to continue to learn from you. And hopefully we'll be sending people your way in pretty soon here.
Cool. Sounds like a plan.
Awesome, Nick. We appreciate the time, man.
All right.